a project about messaging and wayfinding in the museum. And I tried to organize things a little bit according to the plan, do, check, and act cycle. And thank those who have coordinated and consulted and advised in the project. Ruth has been really helpful with helping me think about mission, vision, and values. And that has come back in an integral way in this. And Ted has given me lots of insights over the time I've been director, and our museum staff have been always very helpful with feedback. And Monty Consulting, you'll see, has been integral in helping us work through the project. So on getting started, I think we started really with a monitor aspect, checking what's the situation. And in awareness in the museum, we got initial feedback from particularly myself doing tours, just being sensitive to the flow. What do people seem to be paying attention to? What do I find myself saying a lot? Perhaps because it's not explicit there in the signage of the museum. So also paying attention to staff feedback, visitor feedback, and then deliberately making some comparisons with other museums, some peer, some aspirational, because during the COVID period, actually, there were a lot of videos made and shared as meetings with people all over the world that were based on many famous mineral museums around the world. So you got to see live what's going on in other mineral museums. So there's Harvard, the School of Mines in Denver, American Museum of Natural History just completed an amazing revision of their whole mineral gallery. There's an amazing museum in Lebanon, and the main Mineral and Gem Museum was recently renovated. So just to see what the state of the art is was really helpful. And then as a contrast for a bit, we've been trying to do different kinds of getting feedback and metrics from the visitors, and getting actionable feedback we found was rather difficult. So we have to be pretty deliberate, but this summarizes what we've done. So we see there are some challenges and opportunities. When you come into the gallery, as the image shows on the bottom, you see this amazing piece of sheet copper, and you can walk to the right or you can walk to the left. And well, you got a decision to make. Which way should you go? And it's not obvious, perhaps. Which way should it, how do we start? There's somewhat of an overwhelming first impression I've heard from people. So that's very good because it's very attractive, but there's also a bit of a dilemma. Like, okay, where do I go? I don't want to miss anything. We don't want them to miss anything. Well, what is the messaging we want people to get? And then we had some feedback. Are there guided tours? Are there audio tours? Is there a sequence we should follow? We do give them a map, but the map doesn't actually guide them through things step by step. So as we move on to more deliberate planning and iteratively planning and doing, some tactics we've been launching is getting Monty Consulting on board with us. They've been really a lot of fun to interact with. They're very insightful, and I really enjoyed that. And then, of course, also engaging in staff conversations. But overall, that together has really broadened my perspective. Initially, I was thinking this is a project to get signs hung in the museum. What is this gallery? What is this gallery? 1, 2, 3, 4, how should we proceed? And all of this together has really encouraged me to broaden our perspective and ask questions. What do we really hope to accomplish with visitors as they come in? What do we want to have them leave with as an impression? And answering that brings us into actually, what is our mission and what is our vision? And how we answer our questions then for what we might even do in a simple thing, perhaps a signage, really should link back to our mission and vision, broader perspectives. Don't just take short-term actions, but really, how does it integrate with longer-term plans? And that can seem rather overwhelming, and it did seem overwhelming to me at the beginning. So the project isn't going as fast as I anticipated, but it's still, I think it's going to be better than I anticipated. In the discussions, especially with Monty Consulting and with Ted, I found that there's some balances I have to consider. And so decisions are going to have to be made. One that really intrigued me was when Matthew Monty said, quoting someone else, who I unfortunately don't remember where this quote comes from. He says, "My job isn't to educate you, it's to engage you." I thought that was really interesting because our mission is education based, but as an informal education place and as a museum, engagement really is a first step. So we really do want to engage. So where's the balance? How do we balance that engagement and education? They can work together, but I think we have to be deliberate about that. Also with the messaging, and this again is where our signage comes in. There's signage at many levels, from the whole hall to individual galleries to individual cases, all the way down to specimens. And I've been encouraged to think more explicitly about how they integrate together. So there's a theme and a purpose, but also everything doesn't have to be explicit. There could be some things that are implicit. So there's some sense of discovery involved. I really like that idea as well. How to implement that, well, we're working on that, but having these ideas come forward at the beginning has been really fun and changes my perspective. We're not just going to put signs up. Maybe in the end, they'll be similar to what I might have envisioned to begin with, but I don't think so. And I just mentioned the consistency of the signage going from the exhibit hall to the galleries, cases, and specimens. So this actually is laying out the longer term plan. We're not going to do all of this all at once. We're really focusing on the signage of our galleries at the moment, but they fit in a particular place and they're going to accomplish a purpose. So then I discovered, actually, in thinking through all this and having some good conversations with Patty and Ted, that there are some deliberate themes that are linked on our map, but people don't necessarily use the map, especially the flip side, which has got a lot of text. But nevertheless, having these themes in mind help guide us and how we want to guide the visitors in the museum. What do we want to be explicit with? What do we want to be implicit with? And that finally, that will help us focus on what do we want to put on the signs. But I thought it'd be interesting just to mention that I have kind of discovered and I'm tweaking some of the main themes we want people to leave having a greater understanding of. You know, minerals are natural masterpieces. They're all around us. And of course, we'll focus on Copper Country and Lake Superior regions. They're important and they have stories to tell and to be discovered. So those are going to be some of our guiding themes. And through that, they'll link to our how they're supported in the different galleries and then through the signage. So initial designs got made. So we're in a bit of a feedback loop of doing, and we'll be doing checking. And even though the circle seems to go around, where you back up and go forward and back up, it's not just a simple circle in the process. So Monty Consulting presented us just some concepts to start with. And sometimes things seem pretty simple. Okay, there's an introduction sign on the left. There's a beauty of minerals sign on the right. But there's deliberate decisions made on the font style, the color. Should there be a lot of text or a little text? Well, we want to focus on the minerals, so we want to find that balance of wayfinding and information versus don't take away from the next level of focus. So all those decisions were fun to see how the consultants take those things into account. As we look down our main aisle, we have an opportunity to see the different kinds of signs. Some could be horizontal, but a few of them may be special. They might be vertical. Well, it turned out in our checking, our monitoring before actually hanging signs, well, some feedback was, well, we don't like those vertical ones so much, or we don't necessarily like that we can't see the signs further back. So we'll work on adjusting the heights, but that'll come into play more when we actually hang some prototypes. And also as part of the do check, the prototype was, well, actually not physical, but on the sign, well, let's have some stacked signs because it's a complicated gallery in the back corner. Well, there's big agreement that that's too complicated. You know, we don't want to have that many signs together. So it leads us to think through how could we change that, simplify it, get people down there, and then when they get to that corner, then they'll explore more in that area in more detail. So even before we build anything physical, we're already doing some checking cycles. And then some unexpected opportunities came up, which I'm really excited about because it really shows the value of bringing other people and fresh ideas into the process. One was we were looking at the photo and say, it looks like the chairs are kind of in the way, and maybe we can replace those. And well, the American Museum has dark flooring. What would it look like with dark flooring? Well, that's easy to do digitally. And I just loved it. Well, maybe that's a long-term thing we'll shoot for. It's not signage, but new opportunities come up, which I'm really excited about. And they also suggested maybe we can think about door wraps. We have these big exit doors. Well, maybe we can put something interesting on them, like connect the context of the geology and mines with the museum by putting some door wraps. So we're looking into that. People want some selfie spaces, and we've got some blank walls. So maybe we can put some interesting things on the walls, again, that tie in the mining and the geology, and take a picture to post with your friends on our Facebook page. So there are some next steps. We will finalize the text and design, and I'm almost ready to finalize the text now that I have bigger context. We'll fabricate prototypes, and I was encouraged by Teresa, and I think this is exactly right. Don't wait for perfection, otherwise we're never going to launch. That's why we're going to do this cycle, and that's good advice for me. We're hoping to prototype this winter so we can then evaluate with physical things in the museum, and then from there we'll go ahead and revise, we'll fabricate, quote final products, and we'll monitor again. And that's where we're at, and I'm excited about the project. So thanks for hearing me out this morning.